Well, Mayor Mamdani celebrating his 50th day in office.
All right, and in that short amount of time, he's already made some pretty big moves. Fox 5's Morgan McKay here now with a closer look at some of the issues he has already taken on. Morgan.
Hey, Steve and Natasha. So we're 50 days into the mayor's first term, and we're starting to see some frustration from even some of the mayor's top supporters, especially when it comes to his budget plans and his recent reversal on homeless encampment sweeps. Mamdani on the campaign trail pledged that he would end the practice of sweeping up homeless encampments, but after 19 people died during the city's frigid cold stretch, the mayor is now resuming the practice. Outreach teams will now try to connect a homeless person with services for 7 days before the encampment is dismantled. Mamdani also swore on the campaign trail that only the ultra-wealthy and corporations would face a tax increase. But now he's threatening to hit working-class New Yorkers with a 9.5% property tax hike as a way to fill the city's budget gap. Critics have said that there are other ways to find revenue without raising taxes. Former Mayor Michael Bloomberg ordered all city agencies to cut spending by 5% before he raised property taxes. Mamdani was asked, why not do the same?
In the first fiscal year, we put a goal of 1.5%. In the second fiscal year, we put a goal of 2.5%. And what we found is that in prior administrations, when you set an expense goal of 3.5, as we saw in the prior administration, that's the point at which the city has to start to change its service provision. That's the point at which garbage can collection is reduced. That's the point at which library service hours are cut.
Now, Mamdani's budgeting for the NYPD also has caused some tension on both sides of the aisle. For the most part, Mamdani kept the NYPD's $6.4 billion budget essentially flat, adding in some extra money to replace aging police cars and for overtime. But right before he left office, former Mayor Eric Adams tried to force in an extra 5,000 officers into the city's budget. Mamdani, as a candidate, made clear that he would be reversing this move as soon as he took office, and he did, lowering the cap back to 35,000 officers. Right now, the NYPD has just over 34,000 officers, but has struggled with retention and hiring in recent years. Mamdani was asked how he plans to change this.
I've said time and again that for too long, the city has added additional responsibilities onto the NYPD. Part of our vision in establishing a Department of Community Safety is to start to take that responsibility of mental health crises and task mental health responders with that work, and to ensure that police can focus on the work that they signed up to focus on.
But Mamdani did not budget for the new Department of Community Safety, which would send mental health professionals to certain 911 calls. Mamdani is, though, reportedly expected to announce soon a new deputy mayor to oversee the agency. Steve,
yeah,
Natasha?
A lot happened in 50 days. All right, Morgan, thanks so much.